All right, everybody,
All right.
coming in the door. We're going to just wait for a few seconds for everybody to join. And we appreciate your time. We appreciate your interest in what we're going to talk about today. And we really hope we just help somebody today. Our goal here is to answer some questions, give you some advice. And if there's someone watching that needs to hear something, we hope you hear it. It's pretty casual. We've got a bunch of professional caregivers here. And this is just a topic that we've always needed. I'm going to let a few more people roll in. I'm watching the numbers. My mom would be proud. 32 people are already here. 31, because I'm sure my mom is one of them. So we appreciate you guys coming in and spending your time with us I'm in Atlanta. It's a cold night. So you guys are going to be able to talk to us on the chat. All right. Yeah. Tell us where you're from, everybody. Everybody practice this on the chat. Let me know where I got Ohio. I got Sun City, Florida. Where else we got? Everybody let us know where you're at. We're happy to see. This is Maryland, Tampa. What's up? Norma from Texas. Hello. How are you? North Carolina. I love it. All right. Everybody's there we go. Chicago. Hopefully eating some good food. I moved to Chicago once for a winter and I gained 10 pounds. That's a true story. Memphis. What's up? All right. A lot of Florida people. That makes sense, actually. And we'll talk about that why in a minute. All right. We are going to give it about one more minute, and then we're going to get started. California. There we go. Luciano, thank you. Thank you. All right. We got both coasts. I think that's official. We got both coasts. We can get started now. All right. Everybody here, you know who I am. My name is Matt Paxton, and I appreciate you giving us our time. I have spent the last 20 years helping people. God, that's crazy. 22 years helping people clean up their houses. I got into this business because my dad, my stepdad, and both of my grandfathers, they all died in 1 year. It was not an awesome bar fight. It was just bad luck. And I ended up cleaning all these houses. And I didn't really know what to do. And my grandfather always said, if something sucks as a job, you should do it as a job because people will pay you to do it. And as I cleaned all those houses, I realized that year, hey, I need to do that. And who would have known at that point in time it was my calling. And here I am 22 years later, still helping people clean their houses. And the 2 days I get called the most are day after Thanksgiving, day after Christmas, because everybody goes home and they see their mom or they see their dad and they need help. And that was what inspired this class tonight. I was working with my friends at FirstLight Home Care. A lot of these folks are from FirstLight Home Care that you're seeing right now. What I want to say is this is not a commercial. This is really meant to just for us to ask questions and help each other. And we want you all in the chat to help. We want you to post your questions if you have them. Hopefully we'll answer them in the middle. So don't try not to ask too many questions yet, but we will get to them. And a couple of you submitted questions today and yesterday, and we've got those already in the program. So we'll have a little time at the end to answer the questions, but we hope we give you the information you need. I think I'm gonna get started. I was called to this because of personal stuff. Jackie, I want to ask you, where's Jackie? Jackie, you up here? There we are. Jackie, can you tell us why you got into home care?
Sure. It's ironic because my profession prior to this was in the legal industry, which is completely opposite of healthcare. And I was working in DC at a law firm and got a call from my dad that his cancer had metastasized, and I moved back home to the St. Louis area where I was not only his caregiver for 7 months, but I then took care of my mom with Alzheimer's for 10 years. And it was those 10 years that just changed my life. It changed everything about my purpose. I realized my calling because I had to hire companies like FirstLight to come and help with my mom's care. And there's no nice way to put it other than it was disastrous. I mean, I had people who didn't show up. I had caregivers who took my mom's medicine. I had caregivers who just were not in it for the right reasons. And this is the kind of profession that it cannot just be about the almighty dollar. It has to be because you care about people. You want to be a blessing to others. And those 10 years were incredibly difficult. And it is what made me realize that there's a great need for quality care in this industry. So I left legal and started FirstLight and love what I do.
Well, anyone that leaves legal has got my vote of confidence. I'll say that. Even more for home care. I love it. Lisa, tell your story. Why did you get into this, you think?
Yeah, so my story, I mean, I think everybody that works in this industry has personal experience, but my father passed away from heart disease when he was only 46 years old. So that was a big life event. And then his parents, my grandparents, didn't have any adult children living. And so I ended up managing, I was the oldest grandchild, and along with my cousins who did help me, but I managed their care for about 12 years. So it was an honor and a blessing. And I think through that, maybe I did find my purpose, because I really didn't know anything. I just had to ask questions and lean on people, and, you know, you just have to figure things out. And so I felt like during all that time, I learned a lot about what seniors need. I also learned, you know, it's a blessing to get to live a long and full life. Not everybody gets to do that, but it comes with challenges, and families need help. People need help. And I do kind of feel like that's my calling, to be able to help others.
I love the word help keeps coming up. And I tell this story all the time. I'm an entrepreneur. I happen to be an entrepreneur in the cleaning business. I've always been an entrepreneur. My dad was, both my grandfathers were. My business happens to be helping, which is pretty awesome. And as I found out later, pretty easy, to be honest. But I tried to get rich for about a decade, and I failed miserably. Right. Like, I think after 10 years, I was in the hole. I was negative. And the reason I'm telling this story is when I finally gave in and I told you, I mean, I do a lot of work with FirstLight, y'all, and they sponsor my TV show. And so I've gotten to know a lot of these franchise owners and a lot of these operators at their conference, and talking to them on the line. And so I gave this message at their conference last year. But when I finally gave in and stopped trying to make money, and I just said, all right, I'm just going to help people, man, that's when everything else worked out. And I mean, man, I picked up a wife in the middle of that equation. I picked up 4 extra kids. I got 7 kids now, but it's because I gave into helping. And I think that's why I like working with FirstLight so much, because you'll hear tonight, you'll hear the word help 1,000 times. And I think a lot of you. So let's get into these questions. Again, I am watching I am asking, looking at y'all's questions online in the chat. If you can, hold the questions till the end. But I will watch them and find them for you. And man, we are at 40 people, you guys. This is great. Thank you for showing up. I love it. All right, first question, and I'm gonna let this one go to Molly. Where are you? Okay, Molly, you're up top. How do I know if someone in my family needs help? This is a question that came in. How do we even know if they need help?
Sure. So it's different for every family. Right. So spoiler alert, as we move forward and then go back, it's going to be different for everybody. Why one family needs help is not going to be the same reason another family needs help. And the fact that you're asking that question, there are things we can start looking at. So there's the tangible things like mismedication, things that usually get done around the house that aren't getting done. Weight loss, weight gain, malnutrition could be an issue. Bouts of forgetfulness, but things that maybe that you might consider unsafe. Hiding falls, or falls that you're not hiding. One of the great things about home care is that it is absolutely customizable for every family. We go in, we talk to the families. Proximity to your loved one is something that we see a lot. Are you in the area? Are you out of the area? What does the landscape of your life look like? Do you have kids? Do you have a job? So there's no one reason, but if you're asking the question, I would say it's always good to explore it a little bit, whether it's with an agency, whether it's with your family.
Yeah, I think the fact that if you're asking the question, there's your kicker right there. You know, you're like, do I need help? Then you probably do.
Probably do. Yeah. And know that what somebody, and there's no one, there's no one way to slice this pie, right? We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You might need somebody to take over at nighttime so you can get some rest. You might need somebody in the morning time so you can work from home or get your kids to school. You might need somebody for 4 hours. You might need somebody for 24 hours. You might need somebody for 6.5. So it's completely, there's no one way to do this. And to your point, Matt, yes, if you've asked the question, then explore it.
I think it's important sometimes, and we'll get into what kind of services you guys offer in a minute, but sometimes you as the family caregiver, like I'm looking at my mom now. So let me share a quick story here. I've got my mom, shouldn't tell her age, but she's over 70. Let's just say that, right? Under 73. So you can figure it out real quick. Right? And my grandmother's still alive and lives down the street. She's 93. And then I've got an uncle. And so that's 70. And so he's got full-blown dementia. So my mom has had to hire care for my grandmother and her brother. And now as the home caregiver, she's realizing she also needs help. And I think that was the hardest thing for her. And so I really, and it's funny, as we prepared for this discussion today, I realized, like, I kept hearing all the panel say, oh yeah, sometimes the caregiver needs help as much as the person they're caring for. And we'll talk about later about some of the things they can do for you. But I think if you're exhausted and you're beat down and caregiving has become your full-time gig, whether you're an at-home, unpaid family caregiver, or you yourself are listening saying, I don't know if I need help. Like, I think it's really important to remember, there's lots of different levels. Well, let's get right. Well, I should say this. The next question came in late today. It was a good question. Anyone can answer this. Just raise your hand if you want to answer it. How do you start the conversation? Right? Like, and I get that a lot in my hoarding world. Like, it's really easy to say, oh yeah, my sister's a hoarder, but I'm fine. Right. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's you, lady. I got to talk to you about it. And I have a whole class on this. Anyone here on the panel, can y'all just raise your hand? Okay, Lisa, I'm gonna let you do it. I'm gonna let Lisa and then Jackie. Lisa, tell me what would you do when you're trying to start the conversation?
I mean, just pick up the phone and call us. Just give us a call, give someone a call, and just start asking the question.
No, let me clarify. How do you talk to mom? To say, hey, I'm gonna call the agency. How do you get that?
Yeah. That's hard. That can be really hard. I mean, that's a whole process.
You still want to answer that question? Or do you want to pass it?
Yeah. I'll let Jackie take that one, actually. Go ahead, Jackie.
Well, so often, the first thing I'll say back to what Matt was saying earlier is you really want the primary caregiver to not wait until they have to wave the white flag. You really want them to get help way before they're exhausted and drained and irritable. And it can start with small amounts of service, just a little bit here, a little bit there. That's the beauty about our business, is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can start small and then it can be shifted and added or taken away. But that primary caregiver or the adult child, whoever it is that is responsible for the person needing the care, when they start that conversation, I always encourage it, of course, to be in love. And I encourage them to emphasize that it is because they love them. It is because they care about them, that they care about their well-being. And so what I found with parents is parents will do so much more for their child than they'll even do for themselves. Totally. And I'm a parent, so I get it. But I say to them, your daughter needs to have peace of mind that you're okay. When she's at work, when she is needing to take care of her kids, she needs to know that you're okay. And for you to give her that peace of mind, let us come in and provide some support.
I love this because that is basically the same answer for hoarding, just so you guys know. You want to remind them that, you want to remind them that it's in love, period. The reason we're all so upset and sad and frustrated, and it may have negative energy around it right now, but it's because we have so much positive love and positive energy for you as a greater good. And you have to remind them that. And then I always say, timing of that discussion is probably the second most important thing. Don't have it when mom is laying on the ground because she fell and she didn't call you. That now feels like an insult. And they already know it feels like I told you so. And so, help them work it out. And then I say the next morning when we're hanging out and it's a little more casual, that's when we want to do it.
And we always, we talk about, when you bring in care, it's not the last thing you're ever going to have. Put a finite when you're trying to introduce it, put a time length on it. People are a lot more willing to consider things. And we're going to try this for a month. We're going to try this for a couple months. They never remember it. Nobody ever comes back a month later and it's like, hey, you said a month. That's it. We're done. But it gives them that sense that, hey, this isn't forever. Nail isn't in the coffin. To Jackie's point too, you have to emphasize, do this for me, help me.
It's funny, Jackie, what you said on the hoarding side, they'll do it if it's helping their kids. They won't do it if it makes their life better. Yeah. People are naturally, I think most people are naturally caring, and they would much rather help other people than themselves. So use that in your equation. For sake of time, we're going to keep moving. What type of help does a caregiver give to your family? And I'm going to let you start with this one. What type of care do you guys, and again, this is different for every franchise, and we want to make sure we're not selling here. We just want to answer the question. So for you guys watching and listening right now, this is going to be unique to a lot of the different franchises, but we want to make sure people, just understand there's lots of types of services.
Right. Yeah. And we can provide, and we're all pretty similar in that we can provide almost any care outside of the realm of medical. So we help with all activities of daily living, which is bathing, dressing, toileting, mobility assistance. We can provide medication reminders, but then we also do things that, in my mind, to keep the house running, the meal prep, the laundry, the keep things, neat and tidy, which again helps people's well-being, for the house to be nice. Change sheets on the bed. That's a really hard job for a lot of seniors. But we do other things. I mean, we can help with pets. I mean, almost anything that they need to make their lives better, we can assist with.
Jackie, what do you think?
Absolutely. Including, transportation. So often the adult kids are working and you have to get to the doctor. You don't want your parents to miss that appointment, whether it is just a regular routine appointment or whether it's a procedure that requires someone to drive you home. So we can help with any kind of procedure, any transportation in general, and not just the medical. For some people, their monthly bingo game with their friends was the highlight of their month, and now they can't drive and they can't get to it, and they need that socialization. So we can drive you wherever you'd like to go. We've even helped new moms. So what an amazing gift to give to for a shower is a gift of some assistance to do laundry and to clean the house.
So you're gonna laugh. Do you know what got my grandma to finally accept assistance? She wanted to get her hair done at the only place she'll get her hair done. And we had to move her into a senior living community, but it was too far for her to drive. And she finally said, okay, I'll accept a drive to get my hair done. It wasn't medical. It wasn't, but that was our end, man. And we had to take it. And right, it's like a $30 haircut, it really had nothing to do with that, but it let her free. It made her feel independent. The extra help did, because my mom didn't have to drive her. And that's what kicked it for her. And then once she realized, like, oh, this doesn't mean I'm invalid. This I'm just getting help. And then she was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'll accept it for something else. So it was a kind of a foot in the door with the hair when we got started. I loved it.
A lot of people find real quick, sorry, is that once these guys get in the house too, like your parents or loved one grandparent, they're a lot of times on their best behavior with you. And so there may be things that they're not doing or they are doing that they're not going to do in front of you. And so once that caregiver gets in for that foot in the door, they may be able to recognize other areas that they really do need help with. They can kind of be those eyes and ears in the home and see those things ahead of time.
I want everyone to hear that. We're going to say that again, Molly. Say that one more time, because what we experienced was my grandma was not telling my mom and I everything because we were, quote, in charge. And then she became really close with the caregiver, and she started to tell them things about falls that we were unaware of. Right. And all of a sudden the whole picture started to make sense. But we still had to protect that relationship with caregiver, you know? So it was very interesting, but repeat it again. What you said is like about the being comfortable.
Say the last part again about being comfortable.
I'll repeat it for you. I'm sorry, I put you on the spot. What I'm saying, I think it's really important people watching here is that like, once you get the foot in the door, you get, you know, I like to start small. I mean, same thing in the cleaning, by the way. We never say we're going to clean your whole house. We say, hey, we're going to focus on 2 feet. Because if you try to say, I'm going to clean the whole house, absolutely, every grandma's going to say, not happening. You're out of here. You're not touching my, you know, yard row. Like, no, I'm just going to go through the junk mail. Oh yeah, you can do that. Right. Understand that once you get in, it's going to be a little easier, and you're not trying for everything. You're just trying to get a little bit of help. All right, let's talk about who is this for. I think we automatically assume this is for the aging, right? This is just for people over 65. Lisa, would you comment about who else can get help?
Yeah, we help everybody. I mean, anybody over the age of 18, as far as my office goes, adults, people with disabilities, people maybe that have had a surgery. We helped a doctor one time who just had a back surgery and she couldn't drive for 6 weeks. And she literally just wanted someone to take her out to dinner. But we can help. We help all kind of people at all ages.
You've got adults. Yeah, go ahead, Molly, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all do a lot of business with veterans, or there's a lot of vets out there that we can help. Short-term chronic conditions. We have clients that we do service for 1 day. We have clients that we do service for thousands of days. And there's no length of time associated with all of this, right? That's always, I think we talked about it, but that's that huge misconception. Like, this is it. I'm signing a year contract. No, we can help you for a day. I think, Lisa, you even told me, we were talking about this before. You have somebody that once a month calls you and you do an event for them. So,
there's some minimums. I would assume some locations are going to have a small minimum, but it's not massive, right? Like you could have a couple hours a month, right? Or a couple hours once. Yeah.
We all want more, but we like to start small because it all goes back to start small and go from there.
Right.
I have people,
and really, it's to cater to the client. I would absolutely agree. Not all clients need 24/7. I mean, for some, it might mean a sunrise, sunset service. They need help first thing in the morning to just get up, get dressed, get breakfast, get meds. An hour or so, couple of hours, they're good. And then in the evening to kind of get them back in bed, make sure they have dinner, meds again. So it's catered to what the client's needs.
Yeah, I heard a franchise say this to me. It kind of made me laugh. This is me speaking, not anybody from FirstLight Home Care, but they were like, dude, we don't need more work, man. We're good. Like, if you don't need it, we want to be there to help you as long as you need us. But if you don't need us, that's okay. We don't want to waste your time or take your money. And it was kind of just a funny way it was said. And I was like, oh yeah, you guys are busy. Like, you're busy helping other people. And so they really don't want, I want everybody to see that. Like, that's, again, this is my words, not anyone else's. They're not looking to add hours if not needed. If you need them, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. I think it's, again, back to the word help. All right. This is kind of the misconception I see the most. This is one of the common questions. Where do you give the care? Is it just in your home? I'm going to let anyone answer this one. Jackie, let you jump on this one. Where else have you helped families?
No. We can provide care wherever you are. We have gone into the hospitals. We have gone into the long-term care facilities, the nursing homes. We've gone into assisted livings. We can go wherever the care is needed. And oftentimes, especially with, since COVID, I've noticed this happens more frequently. Hospitals are short-staffed. The facilities are short-staffed, and family members want their loved one to get more one-on-one care than the facility is able to give, or even the hospital is able to give. So they'll hire us to come sit at night with their loved one because, there might only be a few people on the hall at the facility. So we can go wherever they are. But yes, most of our clients are in the home. so that they can continue to stay in their home and live a good quality of life and age in place.
I found my mom was able to hire help to sit with my grandma while my mom went to her appointments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was a big relief for my mom. It was more for my mom than for because my mom's over 55, so she's got the guilt of the oldest adult daughter. That is a term that I use a lot. I'll repeat it: guilt of the oldest adult daughter. Wow. And what happens is she feels like she's got to be there all the time. And if you are the oldest daughter, that's the funniest thing you've ever heard, by the way. And if you're not, you don't get it. But they tend to feel like it's their responsibility to do everything. And so my mom didn't even want to go take care of herself because she didn't want to lose the care from my grandma. And so having someone to sit with my grandma really, really helped her. I think that's important. And you guys did say in the hospitals like that, you guys got to understand that, people listening, like, quality of care in the hospitals has declined, and we're not saying that, that's a fact. It's life. And so sometimes you just need someone to be there. We're not coming in to do medical care. We're just coming in to provide that time and that space with the family. All right. And we talked about this. One of the other questions was, and if you're listening or watching tonight, I'm going through the top 10 questions that we get all the time. One of them was, what if we don't need a full-time caregiver? And I think, Molly, you've talked about that a lot. We can do lots of little, a couple hours or full-time care, whatever you need and whatever it's right for you. Yeah. All right. Here is where we get challenging. Molly, I'm going to let this one. This is what people really want to know. Okay. How are your employees, your caregivers selected and trained? Like, how do you get people? Because I'm going to say this, I'm asking you to put somebody in my mom's living room. That is personal. That matters to me. How do you, and anyone who wants to answer this, I'll start with Molly, but anyone else wants to jump in. How do you guys select people and how do you train them?
Sure, of course. So, our business is people and our product is people. And nobody bats 1,000. If there was a home care hall of fame, we'd have some great representation, but nobody's there all the time. But so certainly looking at background, skill set. A lot of caregivers start as family caregivers, or they come from something medical related. Some people come out of something maybe that has a service aspect to it, adults or children with disabilities, or with seniors. But the interesting thing is that there is a client for every caregiver and a caregiver for every client. And there are times that we have people that come into the office and I think, what the heck am I going to do with this person? And who are they going to be with? And I have this amazing recruiter. Her name's Rachel. And if she's watching, I'm going to embarrass her a little bit, but we had a potential caregiver come in about 1.5 years ago. His name was Gabriel. He was 69 years old. He was a superintendent of schools in Africa before he moved to the United States at about 60. Did some things and he just wasn't ready to sit at home. Of course, he'd never been a caregiver before. Incredibly intelligent man. Because of his age, he was not open to, we couldn't do heavy lifting, very good shape. And as he was leaving, I just remember looking at Rachel and I said, what are we going to do with him? I will tell you, and she looked at me and she goes, I know, but Molly, he's an amazing person and I like him a lot. I said, okay, let's get him in some shifts. Let's see what he can do. I will tell you today, I could not imagine my agency without Gabriel. Gabriel, we got him into some shifts and, kind of saw what he could do. And we finally got him into a client with Mitch. Mitch was 99, blind, and Gabriel would just sit with him and talk. I think Gabriel actually spoke at Mitch's funeral. And after Mitch passed, then that's when Gabriel met Chuck. And Gabriel and Chuck, they go to the casino. They go to his second house. They go to lunch. They do their 3,000 steps a day. And Chuck has dementia. He's 90. And when Chuck, this is 1 year ago now, they've been together for a long time, but he used to walk Gabriel to the door. And because when someone comes to your home to visit you, you walk them to the door. And so he would walk him to the door at the end of the shift and he would say, Gabriel, thank you for coming to visit me today. And Gabriel would shake his hand and say, of course, Chuck. And Chuck would grab his hand and he would go, thank you for being my friend. And that is why we're all sitting here. And don't call me and ask for Gabriel, because Gabriel has a full schedule. He's
busy.
Yeah. He's busy.
Well, and I'll say this: there's 100 Gabriels. It's crazy. I got to spend a lot of time this year with y'all's winner of the Caregiver of the Year award, Brian. And what I always do when I work with the company, and just for people watching here, I do this, I enjoy helping people. I really love it. And so they were like, hey, can you come give the trophy away? And I'm like, yeah, man, let's do it. So I go and I get to meet Brian, and that's like on camera, and there's balloons, and it's a big deal. And that's all cool. Well, that's for camera. What I like to see is when the cameras are down, right? Like, what's going on? And I look over, and the Caregiver of the Year award is sitting there with the guy that he takes care of. And he's fixing they're getting ready to take a picture. And the guy that won the award is fixing his client's shirt, because he knows he's going to be in the picture. And they are laughing at each other, and they're just laughing it up like two old buddies. And the guy had a stroke. He was an executive in Charlotte, a banking executive. He had a stroke. And I looked at his wife, and the wife she goes, these two dudes, they are just crazy, right? And they all three burst out laughing. And then none of this was on camera. And I'm like, man, I wish we could have caught that, and because my business is TV. But like, it was such a sweet moment. And that is something I didn't know when I started working for you guys. It's those little moments, and you all have 1,000 of those stories, but it's these little moments of this bonding. And I think what's important is that, they pick the people to do that. The training is extensive. I've been involved in a lot of the training. It's ongoing forever and ever and ever. But yeah, let's be the first to say, none of us are batting 100 for 100, right? Like, sometimes it's not the right fit, and we'll swap out and find the person that is right for you. Jackie, you're going to say something. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I just love these stories. I just love them. And of course, that's why we're all in this business. But I often say, I can teach skill all day, all night, but I can't teach love. So we look for people who truly have the heart to serve. They have to have that servant attitude. And, anyone can be taught how to use a Hoyer lift or a gate belt or any of the things that we use for that sort of thing. But we really want someone who has the heart to serve. The clients can tell. They can tell as soon as that person comes in and starts to interact. They know those who are in it for the right reasons, because they really care about people, and those who, I just need a job. And so that's the difference. Skill can be taught, but we can't teach.
And let me say this to everyone listening here. If you're looking, you don't know if you need help or not. I don't care. We don't care who you hire. We don't care who you call. No. We want to make sure it's the right person for your family. And so whoever you call and you get a placement, you have a person. If it's not the right fit, let everybody know, right? Let them know, and make sure that you get another person in there, because we want it to be the right fit for you and your family. Yeah, and that's the most important.
Early, because you can fix things early. I've had clients be like, well, she didn't clean up the Cheerios quick enough. Like, I can fix that, and I can take care of that. But to Jackie's point,
I had a lady one time hire me for like the biggest hoard I'd ever seen. Right? And I've cleaned some of the messiest houses in the world. And I always asked on the first day, how's it going? How do you get it? And I'm like, I'm not talking about the progress. I'm talking about, how do you like working with me? And this lady, she goes, well, I think you talk too much, and I don't think you're funny. And I go, well, then I am not the guy for you. Because I think I'm hilarious, right? And so I go, we got to find you somebody new. And so I ended up giving her money back, and I said, look, let's find the right person. And I got a boring person that was really good for her, right? But for her, that was the fit she needed, right? Like, that was the person she needed. And so I think what Molly said is really important. Do not wait. If you don't love it, call the person that you spoke with at the company and work with them. All right, we are cranking on time, so I want to keep going here because I want to make sure we have time for everybody else. Does the family have any say in selecting the caregiver? What would you? Yeah, Lisa, what would you advise on that?
Yeah. I mean, we want everyone to be happy. It's not just the client that you're taking care of. We really are servicing and providing peace of mind to the whole family. So we do want their input, and we do want them to be happy, with the choice. So there's a lot that goes into matching the right caregiver with the client. I think we all work really hard with that. We try to get to know the family, and that gives us a lot of insight into what type of caregiver we think is going to work for them. And still, sometimes it doesn't work. It's not perfect and you have to make a change. But we take all that feedback, and that's why communication is so important. We take that feedback and then, hey, let's try someone else. So, but yeah, we want everyone involved to be happy.
All right. Here's the money question, literally the money question. What does this cost? And this is the number one question we get all the time. Now I'm going to preface it with, obviously it's going to be different in every state. Obviously it's going to be different in every city. What you get in California versus Atlanta is going to be different. The quality is going to be good. I guess start more like, how do you charge before we say, it's hard for us to say exactly, like, I don't want to give $1 because it could be anything anywhere, but how do you charge? Molly, you want to take that one?
It's an hourly bill rate. I mean, it's an hourly rate. Other than mileage, if the caregiver drives their vehicle, there's no additional charges. There's no assessment fees or all of this stuff. You're not going to get a long, drawn out invoice with a bunch of, things you can't decipher in insurance codes. It's an hourly bill rate. And, to kind of what we talked about earlier, it can work for anywhere from 2, 4, whatever everybody's minimums are. I think one of the things that is important in the charging, because yes, there is a bucket of money, and the bucket of money is the bucket of money. But I think everybody here, I'll speak for myself, but I know I can speak for everybody here, is that we're here to work with families too, and we're not here to take money. We're here to work with them on what they really need. We talked earlier about, I always joke with family, like families will call and they'll be like, you know what, like I really need to reduce care. My mom just doesn't need it anymore. as much anymore. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, that's a good thing. That means we did our job.
Great.
Like that's not a bad thing. Don't apologize to me. I'd love for you to write me a review, It is meant to be something that, can decline in time. So don't be afraid to talk to agencies about, if you have a budget.
It's funny you say that. Yeah. When in the hoarding business, my job is to do such a good job that I no longer have a job. Right. Like, could we be so blessed that no one needs me? That would be amazing. Right. And that's our goal for everybody. Put me out of business. Like I want everybody to be taken care of. That would be amazing. Jackie, what are you going to say? Yeah.
So one of the things, how we start is we do a free assessment. So we go into the home or wherever it is we're providing the service, and not only do an assessment of the client, but we do an assessment to just discuss everything about the care. And one of the first things that we try to determine is whether or not there's any government support out there or long-term care insurance, because there's a variety of ways to pay for our services. So there's Veterans Administration programs, there are Medicaid programs, there's long-term care insurance, there's other ways. So we try to kind of figure out how we can pay for the services in other ways before we tap into the private.
All right. And I think that's really important here. Like, a lot of us want to, well, does insurance pay this or that and this, and like, dude, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts there. But call us and find out. Whoever, either call us or call. We don't care who you call. Again, we want to keep it kind of independent. But like, call and find out, because there may be services specifically on the veteran side. I mean, there's just so, and I didn't understand how complicated that was till one night I was at y'all's national conference. And about 11:30 at night at the bar, somebody from Florida corners me. I need to get this covered by insurance on hoarding. And I'm like, and they start telling me like 8 different ways it could get covered. And even I've been representing you guys for like a year at that point, and I didn't know all the options that were there. Right. And so I kind of basically called to find out at the bar that night and was shocked how many options were available. And so I think it's really important, if you don't know, call and get the conversation started, and let's find out. All right. I always mean to do this at a half hour. Some people have to jump out. And so I am going to post this up here. If you have questions for us, folks, you can click on this and say, learn more. All right. Click on the learn more, and that'll actually, you don't have to right now, but if you want to, I don't want to lose anybody, but I know that people sometimes need to go at a half hour. If you click on this and you sign in, you're going to get an email of this whole video, you get a link of this whole video on YouTube. You may be watching this a year after we recorded it. That's okay. You can go to firstlighthomecare.com, and continue to ask these types of questions. I'll leave that up there. For me, it's on top of me, so I don't think it matters. Everybody knows who I am. I'll sneak in right there. All right, we're going to keep going on questions. We're almost done. We're going to get into the viewer questions. I don't leave time for that. How does a family get started? We might have just answered that on our own. Jackie, go ahead and answer that. How does a family get started?
Well, once you call, we can do a assessment over the phone. And if the family is comfortable, I always encourage the family to have all of the members that are involved in that person's care be a part of that assessment. So if there's numerous siblings or whoever it is that's involved, I'd like all of them to be a part of that meeting if at all possible. And then we schedule the in-home assessment. And again, it's not just to determine the care and that, but we also assess the home. And we can make recommendations on safety issues for the home, or recommendations as simple as a raised toilet seat will really help. Whatever it may be, that could help them to continue to live in their home and live a good quality of life.
Yeah.
Lisa, you got anything you want to add to that?
I was just going to say, back to the point we were talking about a minute ago, it's very reasonable to get home care. And we do really enjoy helping families find resources. So I would say that. And then also, how much is peace of mind worth?
Yeah.
And that's what we're providing. But yeah, exactly like what Jackie said. I mean, we come into the home and it's great for every decision maker to be there, and let's have a conversation all together and get to know each other, and what your pain points are, what your concerns are. And, that's all free. And then from there, we set up care, but we do home safety, things, and make recommendations. And, so it's a really great meeting. We want to see the client in their home environment and see, what they need.
We almost go ahead, Molly. I'll cut you off. Go ahead.
And then from there, we get to take care of all the stuff you don't want to, right? We get to schedule. We get to, assessment, usually anywhere, it's different from every office, but typically 5 to 7 days to start care. I don't want to speak for any offices. It's a crazy environment right now, but there's a care plan that's put in place, an introduction of a caregiver, typically an owner or a client care manager or somebody will be there to introduce the care provider. We're not here to just drop somebody off on your doorstep, ring the bell, and they've got a name badge, and there you go. They go in with a care plan. They go in with a care log. You'll see notes throughout their shifts so that adjustments can be made, expectations can be discussed, and make sure they're met. FirstLight, and we'll speak for other agencies, has a 7-point process. So there are follow-up visits usually it's about the 3rd visit, the 5th visit, phone calls after the 1st visits. I mean, introducing a caregiver can be a little weird, right? It can be awkward. It's like dating the first couple of weeks. You're trying to get to know each other. You're like, oh, I like orange juice. You like apple juice. I'm 90. You're 30. Like, what do we have in common here? Oh, you have shoes. I have shoes. We both love shoes. Let's talk about shoes. So to kind of move that along. And then again, we take care of everything behind the scenes. Not only, of course, we're paying into things like workers' compensation and unemployment. So you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. You don't have to worry about the financial impact of that for your family. You don't have to get nervous about what happens if something happens here. Liability can sit with us. Someone calls out, someone's sick. If you're managing it yourself, someone calls in sick, you've got to take the day off work. Somebody has to take the day off work. Somebody has to figure it out. So that's the piece that we can do.
All right. I got to tell a story now. I keep comparing this to my cleaning business, but a lot of times my biggest competitor in my cleaning business is my nephew, Ricky, who's not working right now. Right. Or is finding himself. Right. And they're like, I'm going to go with my cousin, Ricky, because he's only $20, an hour. And it's like, well, there's a reason Cousin Ricky's available, y'all. There's a reason he's not working. And by the way, a lot of times I'll say, great, have Cousin Ricky come work for me. I'll put him on my insurance. Let's chat. I'm always looking for good people. I can train them. And so it was funny. I found that a lot of times people, they think it's easier to hire family than they realize. I think that the summary here I want to say is call, just call somebody. we'd love you to call FirstLight. But if it's not FirstLight, that's okay. Call a professional company and just start asking. I will say this, the knowledge of the stuff that you don't even know you don't know is pretty in depth. And the more I work with these professionals, I find out like, oh my God, they know so much more than I even had a clue. All right. We want to have time for questions. Do we have any questions in the chat? Folks, if you want to serve them up, and I have one last question for the panel in a few minutes, but I want to see if there are any questions. The last thing I saw is "Go Dogs" from Scott in Alpharetta. I don't know, man. Scott, I live in Sewanee, Georgia, so I'm not far from you, dude. And my sons and I, we go Dogs, man, go Dogs. And then oh, someone's talking about Michigan. We can ignore that. That's not even a real football team, I don't think, man. They haven't played anybody yet. But anywho, do we have any questions? Because I have one last question for the panel that's really, really important. But if anybody has any questions, I think a lot of people are just really kind of curious. And I really do hope for you guys, we've given you some help. We've given you some advice and just some things to think about. But at the end of the day, if you think you need help, you probably do. It may be for you or it may be for a loved one. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. I think for a lot of you, if you're that sandwich, you're that oldest adult daughter, or you're the oldest adult son or the husband, and you are starting to give more care than you're comfortable with, call and just find out what they can help you with. I think you'd be amazed. And specifically on the payment side of it, you'd be really amazed what can be covered. And they have more knowledge on that than you and I do not. If you're spending 10 hours trying to figure this out online, call them and they'll be able to do it. All right. Oh, this is a good question. Here we are. Here they come. They're coming in now. Any suggestions on how to get all siblings on the same page? We will have to go for another hour on this. What I want to say here is, let me preface with this. You're never going to get all the siblings on the same page. That's not realistic, but you can get them at least to agree to call and find out, because the one that lives the furthest away is going to think it's the easiest and it doesn't need any help. And you, the one that's doing the caregiving to the person the most, your sibling probably doesn't value your time or the amount of expenses you're doing in there. So I'm going to let the professionals answer. Does anyone want to answer that question? Because that's a really good question, but a really hard one. I'm going to let Lisa take it. Yeah.
I've got one point about that. We do have a client portal, and all the siblings can get on it, and they can read the notes from the caregivers each day in real time. They can give us to-dos. You know, so people that are spread out or far away, they can all have access to that. And so that's really great. And also, you know, what we do is so custom to each person that I think, you know, if this family member has this concern and this family member has another concern, we can address the different concerns of each person.
Yeah, I think there's always one sibling that makes it a financial decision, even though it's really a decision about quality of life. And I would really stress that, hey, man, sometimes you actually can save money by having the proper care. I mean, a couple hours a week from a professional caregiver is going to free the family up to do more. And so, I mean, it's not all, and then I just cannot stress, these professionals have the knowledge that me as a person at home, I don't have. And so I think, you know, you can really just, it's just better for, and the most, it's better for mom, but there's always that one, you know, I don't know, son that lives in California you haven't seen in 3 Christmases, and he's going to fight it, and he's going to fight it no matter what. So it is what it is. Jackie, what did you think on that?
Well, yeah. and Matt, you'd be surprised what percentage of my time is spent dealing with family dynamics. Yep. I mean, that's a huge part of providing care for families. And oftentimes there could be some sibling rivalry things going on and some discord. And I find that people tend to accept things the way they are if they feel like they're being a part of the solution. And so, for example, if there's 4 kids, and as you mentioned, maybe 1 or 2 of them are out of the area, and then it seems like most of the burden seems to fall on one particular child, I encourage them to find the gifts that each of them can contribute. So, you know, maybe there's a sibling that's not good with the personal care. but they can mow the lawn, they can run and get the groceries, or maybe someone who lives out of state can organize all of the doctor's appointments or keep track of that or handle the finances. And I just really encourage the family to pull together and allow everyone to do something, so that they all have a sense of worth.
When we're done with this, I'm going to ask my wife, what gifts can you contribute to the family? I feel like that is the best verbiage I have ever heard. Folks, did you hear what Jackie said there? That is amazing, right? Even the verbiage, is that not a professional? And by the way, I'm not going to say that to my wife. She would throw me room.
Don't do that.
We have 7 kids, if anyone doesn't know. So everyone has, and Jackie's right, everyone has their own unique gift. And I love the way you even said it, right? Like, that's a seasoned professional. If you're watching, I was like, oh yeah, that cousin hasn't worked in 3 weeks. And Jackie's like, well, everyone has their own gifts for the family. Like, they've done this, y'all. They know what they're doing. All right, Molly, this one's coming to you, and this is going to be our last question.
All right.
How do you determine how many hours of care are needed?
Sure. So I think kind of as I think we've talked about it along the way, right? We go in and we do this assessment, which always sounds so clinical. I always call it like, let's just set up a meeting with the family. You never want to overwhelm people with this, because it can be a little bit scary. And asking basics, and we could going through some basic stuff, what time do you get up? What are the pain points? What are the things that you really need help with? What does the middle of the day look like? What does the sequence of events look like? What are the times of things? Where are you most concerned about people, doing something unsafe, or that is the most critical? And then, looking at, there's 24 hours in a day, and sitting with the family and just having those conversations. I had one this afternoon, and I sat with 4 siblings, and boy, I should have gotten extra for this one. At one point, one stormed out, one was in the truck, one was this, but at the end of the day, the mom was actually sitting there saying, I need this, not in so many words, but she basically, one son didn't want to see that she couldn't take a shower by herself. He's like, oh, Mom, you're fine in the shower. And she's like, no, I'm not, my legs give out. So in those conversations, we were able to come to a 5-hour period that made the most sense for everybody, but it is a group discussion, and it can change. And it can change from weeks. It can change over years.
Folks, they are professionals. I'm gonna give you the last word, Lisa, but they are professionals. They know what they're doing, and they've had these conversations 1,000 times. You're having it for the first time with your family. You might be a little biased. It's really hard when it's your mom, right? It's really hard when it's your husband. And someone just wrote this. I want to call out Norma here, what she just wrote. And Norma, thanks for posting this. I'm embarrassed since it's my husband who needs care. I just can't do it all. I'm in the home, but so exhausted. You have given me so much to think about. Norma, right there, we hoped before we came online, we prayed together and we said, hey, we hope somebody hears us, right? We hope somebody that needs help. And I think Norma heard it. Here's the deal. I want to make sure, I have to say this all the time when I give my classes on decluttering. Sometimes you need permission because you feel like it should be all on you. I promise you, Norm, I am a husband. I've been a husband a couple times. Bless you, Lisa. I've been a husband twice now, right? At the end of the day, we want you to be happy. And I promise you, your family wants you to be happy. They're not going to be upset. Call somebody for help. Call somebody for help. You'll be able to. Lisa, I'm going to ask you the last question, and then we're going to end. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to do this. I want to thank the panel. This is, they've been working all day, y'all. They've been working all day, and they're still here helping you because that's what they do. Lisa, this is a hard one, but at the end of the day, what do you want someone that's going through this to know? They're in the midst of it, like Norma. They're in the midst of it. They are really just exhausted and beat down. From your experience, what do you want them to know?
Yeah, just know there's help out there. We care about you. We care about you, Norma. It can be small. What I was going to say before about what Molly was saying, these situations are fluid. You know, you may be dealing with one situation today. We can come in and maybe try to help with that. Maybe you need less hours, maybe you need more hours. We're going to get in there and figure that out. We're going to walk with you through this. You know, if we can't provide what you need, we're going to help you find it. We're going to help you find resources if we can. And I think that's why we all do what we do. You know, like the story you told earlier, I just had chills. You know, when we're able to go in and help people, that's why we do what we do. And no question is ever stupid. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. You know, we all do have gifts, you know, and you're the spouse. It's hard because you're in it 24 hours a day, and nobody can do that. And you shouldn't feel guilty about that.
And I'm just going to say this to the women watching, taking care of their partner. Don't you think we'd call for help if the tables were turned? We'd have called 6 months ago. All right. So, and that's me, Matt Paxton, saying it. That's not even FirstLight saying it. That's my advice. You damn well know we would have called 6 months ago. All right. So Norma, that's for you. Please call somebody for help. You deserve it. You deserve to have a better life. Maybe just you need a little help before he does, but anything, please call. I think for anybody. We've got 2 sheets here for you. I popped up this Learn More button again because we got 2 sheets. We've got a holiday checklist that'll walk you through things you need to have in the house to make it safe. And then is it time for home care? 6 signs your loved one needs help. A lot of people like checklists, so we've got them for you. These are also good things you can email to family members. By the way, if you did sign up, all of you signed up for this. And so you can, we'll actually email this to you. You'll get this, I think, sometime this week. You'll get it via email. We just want you to get the help you need wherever it is. And if you're watching this a year later online, just go to FirstLightHomeCare.com, FirstLightHomeCare.com. And the phone number is 844-420-1406, 844-420-1406. Jackie, I got a feeling that as a former legal professional, you got one more thing to say. You got anything else you want to say to our listeners? I just got a hunch.
No, yeah. I really don't, other than, thank you for having me. What an honor, what an honor, what an honor. Things that we think don't have much meaning, have a lot of meaning to others. And I'm just grateful to be able to share any knowledge that I've gained through these years of caregiving. And thank you, Matt, for hosting and for doing this and all that you do. And Molly and Lisa, thanks to all of you.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody. We love you guys. We really just hope you learned something today that'll help you get your life better and feel good. And so if you need anything, reach out to us or reach out to anybody. But we're here for you, and we hope everybody has a really, really good, happy holidays. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.